everybody. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series. Jim Masters here in the host chair, as always. Predictable. I told you I would be here last time in the last episode. I'd be right here waiting for you. Well, here we are. We're in the New York area in the United States on the East Coast. Beautiful day today, 80 degrees, sunny, light coastal breeze. There's your weather update for those here in the Northeastern United States. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the great love and support and likes, comments, and social media posts about the Jim Masters Show Live series, bringing back the lost art of conversation, celebrity friends and guests. We say that in case there's new viewers who join us and they're popping on right now. And they're like, what is this show? So we have a good time, great conversation, entertainment, so much more. And with all of that said, we welcome you watching all around the world. Want to comment in our lovely whole chat room? Just subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. It doesn't cost anything. And you can comment, say hello to other viewers right now. We're very interactive here at JMS. Say hello to other viewers. Say hello to us as well. And that's how we do it around here at Lovely Hall, as we call it. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us here on the show. Let's have a good time together. And with our special guest coming to us live at the time of the show, because I know many of you watch this when it's recorded and archived, but live right now from Vancouver, Canada. Our friend joining us, Donald Heng, is here. He's been in some of the most iconic television series and, of course, streaming series and films and so much more. And he's very, very excited because he is in a lead role in a brand new movie, a fabulous feature film. Very excited about it. It's called Sight, and Terry Chen and Greg Kinnear, of course, Emmy award-winning Greg Kinnear is in this, and this is something very, very exciting. This is brand new, but our very special guest, Donald, has been in a lot of great shows and series, as I have mentioned. A lot of them you know, and a lot of them you probably watch, like on CBS, Tracker with Justin Hartley. Very, very popular series on CBS. I know a lot of you like to watch the Hallmark movies. You've loved when we've had several guests, like our dear friend Paul Green, who we know personally, who've been in these movies, and a lot of actors and actresses who've been in the Hallmark movies, which are very popular, not just at Christmas time, but throughout the year. And he's been in a lot of the Hallmark movies as well, and other shows and specials and more he's been in. Beverly Hills Wedding. I bet you saw that. Horror Stories as well. That's a great one on CW, including this too, The Art of Racing in the Rain. He's very proud of his work on that. Supernatural, The Sinner, The Good Doctor. Of course, you know The Good Doctor, right? Another fantastic series. The 100, Ghost Wars, Minority Report, The Promised Land. He's had roles in these various productions and shows. Ransom. Here's another one too. The Flash. Of course, everybody knows and loves The Flash. That's on CW network. And Van Helsing. And as I mentioned, Two Sentence Horror Stories. That was on CW. Here's some more, some of the great movies that you guys enjoy from Hallmark. There you go. Yes, that's my arm, just so you know. Just My Type, absolutely. He also played a chef in this. You may remember. I know you guys are fans of those movies. Also, Homecoming for the Holidays and American Dreamer. Arrow. I mean, the list goes on and on, folks. He's been in so many. He's in high demand. He's a very popular actor. He's very, very versatile as well. And again, as I mentioned, this is hot off the presses and very, very exciting. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But Donald, again, coming to us from Vancouver, which is a great, great city in Canada. He's already had a very busy year. As I mentioned earlier in the year, guest starred in 3 different network shows: CBS Tracker, the CW's Family Law, ABC's The Good Doctor, and the second episode of the biggest network show, Tracker, entitled Masula. He played Jackson Cheng opposite Justin Hartley, who, of course, we know from This Is Us and Smallville and soap operas and so much more. He was an accountant who recently cut ties with his family, joins a cult, and his parents hire Colton Shaw, Justin Hartley, as the successful person to track him down, discovering that Jackson may or may not be there of his own free will. He was also in the season premiere, the final season of The Good Doctors, as we mentioned as well. And he's worked with so many incredible people. He had a 7-episode recurring guest star role as Anthony Chan in the CW's Kung Fu. He was in that as well. Really, really exciting stuff, folks. And again, one of the leads in Hallmark Channel's movie Retreat to You, playing the chef who falls in love with Megan Helfern's Wynonna Earp character. And throughout the career, Donald has had leading roles in all these great series and shows, even City TV's The Murders as well. That's another great one. So yeah, this guy is really, really busy. So for us to get this amount of time. And another one too, Netflix, very popular, Virgin River. We've had some other actors and actresses from Virgin River here on our show. That is a really, really popular series on Netflix. So many of you have had opportunities to talk about that and how much you love that as well. And lots more. And we're going to talk about Sight because he's very thrilled to be a part of that feature film. And that opened up on in theaters on Memorial Day weekend. So make sure you catch it. And as I mentioned, he's starring with Oscar-nominated and Emmy-winning actor Greg Kinnear, who we've seen in so many movies. Little Miss Sunshine, As Good as It Gets, and Terry Chen from Almost Famous and Falling. It's based on the true story of Dr. Ming Wang, a poor Chinese American who defies all odds to become a world-renowned eye surgeon in the United States. I'll let him tell us the rest of the plot, but it really is very special because it is celebrating a world-renowned eye specialist whose technology has restored sight to millions of people around the world. So it's really something special. You got to make sure you catch that. We're going to take a moment now to welcome you and welcome to the show for the first time, and sure not the last, our very special guest coming to us from Vancouver, Canada, our neighbors to the north. Donald Heng is here. Donald, welcome to the show, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Jim, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. It was a walk down memory lane. I honestly forget about some of them.
It's incredible. I mean, when I was looking at the body of work too, and even before we started the show, we even had you in some shows that you weren't necessarily in, but you know people that were, you've acted with them. But these, all of the ones we just showed now, are just some of the production series and shows you've had an opportunity to be involved in. Congratulations on it all. Congratulations on Sight. What sparked your interest early on to get into the world of entertainment and acting and wanting to be a performer, Don?
It's constantly changing, but what first got me into it, I will admit, is probably just performing. I honestly was probably drawn to the applause of being on stage and feeling all these emotions and feeling like people celebrated it. You know, that's how you get the word celebrity, really. Not that I consider myself a celebrity, but the celebration of it is what kind of drew me towards it and got interested in it. Still, with Asian parents, I needed to go to university. So I went to Simon Fraser and I enrolled in their Bachelor of Arts program for political science and history. But about halfway through my program, I just thought, this acting thing, I got to take a serious stab at it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm going to regret it. So I don't really remember the sequence of events, but I found myself an agent just online, and then enrolled myself into acting classes. And I remember it was my first real acting class that I really discovered something else that has stuck with me to this day about why I love acting. I remember performing a scene from Cool Hand Luke, and it was a scene where I was my character's in prison. Paul Newman's character is in prison, and he says goodbye to his mom. But when you watch the scene, it's kind of like, as a young actor, it seems like he has no emotions, like he doesn't show anything. And as my first acting teacher really explained to me, Jeb Beach, who I still study with from time to time, he gathered some information from my life. And at that time of my life, I was giving away my dog, who I loved. so much, but for reasons that I won't really get into, I had to give him away. And he really just said to use those life experiences and put it into performance. So he told me to get down on the floor and say goodbye to my dog. And I immediately just started bawling and crying uncontrollably. And he let me have my time for about half a minute. And then he stopped me and he says, "Stop crying right now and say goodbye to your dog." And I'm trying to stop crying. I'm just holding my breath. And he said, "No, really, like Paul Newman's character is to his mom is not going to be okay if she doesn't think that he's going to be okay. So you need to be okay for your dog in order for your dog to leave happily." And so that was a moment where I just settled myself and said goodbye to my dog. And that was a moment in my life where I thought I was able to take something that's so traumatic in my life and turn it into something beautiful, like art. And if that's something I can do and make a living off of, then that's probably something I think I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I think that would be the defining moment for what keeps me going. You know, I feel like it's one of the only careers in life, if not the only one, that really you can take just about any negative experience in your life and just turn it into something better.
And inspire people and entertain them and enlighten them. Yeah. And make them laugh, make them think, make them be curious, forget their troubles too, as well, which you've been able to do in so many of these extraordinary roles. When you look back at it all, when you made that decision to pursue this, because it's not the easiest industry, of course, to be in. It's a lot of difficulty and a lot of rejection and auditions and now self-tapes and everything that's involved in it. What would you say is probably next to that very crucial and emotional and pivotal moment in your life? What would be one of the times thereafter that was very pivotal and door opening for you, an opportunity of recognition of your talent that then got the door to open where more of these great opportunities started coming your way, Donald?
You know, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because this movie was just completed and is out in the theaters right now, but the sentiment I have with acting and that I shared with you guys, that carried with me for the last 12, 13 years as the defining reason. And it literally wasn't until last week where I found a new, really pivotal one. Like I remember being in acting class in my last 10 years and hearing people say that they want to be part of stories that change lives. They want to share stories that, like you said, entertain, make people laugh. All those things I felt. But in telling stories that change the world, so to speak, I always felt that was such an actory answer and not necessarily genuine. Not to say that not to say that back then I didn't think that people were genuine about it, but I just felt like it was such a common answer and I never really felt it. But after this movie just came out on Memorial Day weekend, it was the first project that I've worked on where I consistently actually read the reviews, not only of critics, but mostly of audience members. And it's been really well received. And when you read the comments, and when I read the comments, it really, really brought about a sense of pride. Not the first time in my life, but perhaps the greatest sense of pride. And just to think that no matter how small the amount is, I mean, we're only reading some of the reviews that people decided to read. But I'm guessing, you know, 1 million and upwards of people have seen this movie now. And to see that some people love this movie that much and that this movie means so much to them on a variety of levels, whether it's a faith-based reason or one that kind of helps them get over their obstacles in life and inspires them to really pursue something that they feel is untouchable. That is what people are talking about when they were asked a question in acting class: why did you fall in love with acting? You know, that was a new discovery for me that I now, I understand what that feels like now. And it's incredibly fulfilling to have that feeling. And it's kind of incredible that I felt it for the first time in 12, 13 years of acting.
That's amazing. With all these shows and everything we just raffled off, showing everybody all these major productions and series and episodes that you've been on, these iconic shows and beloved shows and new shows, that this particular film really resonated. What was it about this story, about Sight, again, working with Terry and Greg. You're working with some other wonderful people, great producers, great cast. What was it about this film that really resonated with you in telling this story of this extraordinary eye doctor who's made such a big and important, impactful difference in our world?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. Actually, I unfortunately never got to work with Greg Kinnear, although I am a huge fan and would have loved to. But our story really is in separate eras. Just an introduction of the movie. As you said, Jim, the movie is about Dr. Ming Wang, who is a world-renowned eye doctor. And the movie tracks his life, and it flashes back and forth in time between a 1960s and 1970s China that is caught in a cultural revolution era. And the movie shows how he was able to escape that country and come to America, essentially for the in his pursuit for the American dream, and his path in becoming a world-renowned eye doctor. And the movie starts off with a young Indian girl who is an orphan who had sulfuric acid poured into her eyes. This is a true story, by the way. She had sulfuric acid poured into her eyes by her stepmother because street beggars who are legitimately blind earn more money. And so this young girl is brought to Dr. Ming Wang's attention, who piques the memory of unsolved trauma in his childhood. And so he thinks back to his days in 1960s, 1970s when he grew up during the Cultural Revolution, and of this girl that is his young love interest that he lost and got taken away. And so the film takes us back from that time and flashes back and forth and kind of tells his story. That's an overview of it. But to answer your question, this movie means so much to me on so many different levels. I think first and foremost, it is an incredible true story about the life of an incredible human being who has helped so many people worldwide in restoring their sight. And he started a whole charity program since then and has been giving these surgeries free of charge. Second of all, it's an immigrant story that's really centered around the Asian American experience. And I feel that that's really unique in Hollywood. You know, to have this film really open North American wide means a lot for the Asian American community. No less that it's a movie about an eye doctor. Like, that is not a topic that usually would be made into a movie. On the flip side, as unique as a story as this is, I don't think it's unique at all in telling the Asian American experience. And I felt, and as I read this story, I felt a sense of what my parents went through, my own parents went through. They grew up in Cambodia, and they also were refugees to France first and then to Canada. But all of that were because of the Cultural Revolution, ripples of it that was felt in the spread of communism. And so I felt a real historical responsibility and emotional tie to this story. And in telling, and I feel like as I was telling the story, it really was paying tribute and homage and honor to my own parents and their journey and how they came here, overwent terrible obstacles as well, lost family members, and was able to give me the life that I have. And the fact that I am essentially pretending to be other people for a living is astounding to me. And it really awakens in me how lucky I am to be able to do this thing for a living, and in comparison to what my parents had to go through.
Absolutely, but yet inspired by what they went through. It's a rich story, and to know it and to learn it, I think, enhances your understanding of humanity and taking on these roles and these characters, which I think is a rich thing for you. One of the viewers, I think, Merlin, who's over in Ontario, in Toronto area, she had asked, are you from Vancouver originally yourself, or did you relocate there?
No, I was born and raised in Vancouver. My parents, as I said, were refugees to France during the reign of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. And they met on a plane, they fell in love in Paris, and then they immigrated to Canada. And I was born here in 1990.
That's fantastic. Now everybody's getting their calculators out. When you give the date, they're like, okay, so he's
I turned 34 2 days ago. Just so
say
you know.
he just saved you time, folks. Happy birthday.
Thank
Did
you.
you do anything special for the birthday, or did you lay low?
I laid low. I spent the whole day with my son, and then my wife took me out for a nice dinner, and then we went to bowling, and then got some ice cream. Pretty chill.
And before any of you ask in the chat room, yes, he's married. He has a son. Okay, in case they ask in advance, which super fans will. You, like I said, you've had an opportunity to be a part of, whether it's one episode or a multitude of episodes. Virgin River on Netflix, very loved. And every time I mention that one, everybody's like, oh my God, I followed that. I've watched it. I love it. How did that opportunity come your way?
Just auditioning. A lot of these roles really just come on your lap, and you audition, and then But the unique thing with this story, with this particular audition, I do remember I auditioned for it one time, and didn't hear anything back from it for a while, and then I was shooting a Hallmark series, Hallmark movie, my first Hallmark movie, which was Homecoming for the Holidays, and we shot that in Hope, BC, which is about 2-3 hours drive from Vancouver. And about a couple days before my actual callback, they let me know that I had a callback, and unfortunately I was working out in Hope. So I was begging to have a different date or a different time. They couldn't accommodate. So that day when I was in Hope, I was just sweating. I was just like, I really, really want to make this audition, but we were shooting, obviously. And I do remember I got off just in the nick of time, and I just drove to Vancouver. And I don't think I was late, but I got there just in time. And I did my audition. I remember telling the director, like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm flustered, blah, 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 blah. And then I didn't hear anything from them for like a month. And that was one of the most surprising bookings I've ever had in my life, because
And one of the longest months you've ever experienced too, right?
No, actually no, because
you were
the
good?
longest would be when they tell you, hey, we're interested in you. You're on the short list. Then your mind is like, hey, am I going to get it or not? This one, right. I didn't hear any of that. It was just
not even that. This was just thanks for coming in, or yeah.
That's right. And I didn't hear anything for like a month. And yeah. And I remember my wife went to work and my phone started ringing, and I'm like, I recognize this number. For some reason, it's not my caller ID, and it was my agent. And for some reason, it wasn't my caller ID. But then they told me I got it, and then I celebrated with my in-laws who were visiting at the time.
That is very, very cool. And then having the opportunity to be in that, what's that like for you? Great series. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, it is such a popular series. I actually cannot believe I don't think I understood how popular this series was or was going to be when I was on it. Yeah, you know what? It's actually, I don't get recognized very often, but I have been recognized for the show a few times now out in public. And that just speaks to the popularity of the show, because my character is in 4 episodes, and he's kind of a background character until he's not. And then you find out that he actually works for the main bad guy, Calvin. And he's kind of infiltrated the pub, and he induces the customers with a bout of food poisoning, and then he just takes off. So it's not a huge part of the show. So it speaks volumes as to why I was recognized for such a small part, relatively, in the grand scheme of the whole series, how popular the show is.
But still a vital piece of the puzzle, still in there. It's on celluloid. It's there forever in perpetuity, right? Another one is really, really hot commodity right now. Of course, anything Justin Hartley is in seems to oftentimes turn to gold. He was in This Is Us. He was on soap operas, a lot of great things. And Tracker on CBS, the ratings, the critically acclaimed series. You had an opportunity to have a touch of that and be in an episode of that. I believe it was the 2nd episode, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about being involved in that. What was it like working with Justin and everybody on this series?
It was great. I was a huge fan of This Is Us. My wife and I just watched.
Yeah, that's a
the
great
first
one.
few seasons, like, very quickly, and and yeah, I mean, Eleanor, my wife Eleanor, was a huge fan of the show as well. And anytime that I'm working with an actor that she's a fan with, it's like an extra bonus. I remember the first day I met Justin, and we were sitting in a truck and we were chatting about our lives and stuff. And I had mentioned something about my wife, and he goes and he he says, "What's your wife's name?" And I told him Eleanor, and he would repeat her name in conversation. And when I went home, I told my wife, "Hey, you know what? Justin Harley actually knows your name now." I thought it was a pretty cool thing to be able to say to her.
Oh,
But
yeah.
no, I loved working on that show. I thought it was a very interesting character that was really different than anything I'd done before. Yeah, it was a show that really blew up too and just got way more popular than I think anybody would have anticipated.
Right.
I think if you asked him, I don't know if he would be as confident. Not to say that he didn't think it was going to be successful, but to this, I think it's one of the highest rated network shows of 2024. And I remember
Yeah.
him asking me too. He said, "It's good, right?" Like, because he developed this show over a few years. But he
Yeah.
asked me, he was like, "You think it's unique, right? It's pretty good, right?" I was like, "Yeah, of course it is." And yeah, I mean, that was a terrific show to work on. And I was a huge fan of Justin's, and anytime you're able to work with someone you're a fan of is that much of an added bonus.
The variety of things that you've had an opportunity to be involved in is quite an interesting scope of art and material. This one I know you're excited about too, The Art of Racing in the Rain. Tell us about this one, Donald.
Yeah, well, again, this is another connection with This Is Us.
Yeah.
My wife absolutely loves Milo. He also worked on the Gilmore Girls, which my wife also loves that show.
Yeah.
And I will say that as happy and proud of I am of being able to be a part of this movie, there is something about this project that leaves me thinking I learned something huge, because I think I experienced for the first time in my life the feeling of being starstruck. And when I was working with Milo, I felt it throughout, and I felt like I couldn't. And this is like 5-6 years ago, and I've had time to think about why I made the choices I did. And a lot of it is really just tied to not being as experienced. And I remember showing up in set and just being so starstruck by him, because we were literally watching This Is Us at the time. And then the next day I'm working with him. I just remember that I could not properly distinguish between myself and my character. And my character should have been something different. He should have been more confident. And I think some of the Donald anxiety seeped into that performance. So that's one that kind of sticks in my mind as a moment of learning, if I'm going to be completely honest with you.
That's great. Learning
Yeah.
is something that, is important. And if you pick up tips and you just really, sink your teeth into it and you come away inspired, it's something special. And then there's Girl versus Monster. Like I talk about variety and being able to, immerse yourself in different kinds of roles. How did this come about?
This was my first booking ever.
And to be booking with a Disney product, that alone is not too shabby.
I know. Again, like I have so many. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is an interview. Projects where I feel like I didn't do a good job and whatnot, I'm going to tell you like I just did. But Girl versus Monster, it was my first booking ever. I remember the elation I felt when I got the call. I could not believe I was going to be on TV. Celebrated like you couldn't believe. I really thought my career was just going to blow up from then. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
It's a long battle. I always say that acting is like a marathon, it's not a sprint. But at the time I thought it was a sprint, and I thought I was at finish line already, and that was my first booking. The funny thing with this movie is I remember also skipping class, going to do my first audition, and then getting a call back a week later, skipping class again on the same teacher who was not impressed with me skipping class. Busing from the university I went to is so far out of town, but I bussed maybe an hour back to my house, and then I took my little moped and I scootered across town for this audition. And because I was on a scooter, I was never checking my phone. But then when I got there and I parked my moped, I pulled out my phone and I had a voicemail from my agent. So I listened to it and it said, "Hey, Donald, I'm so sorry, but they actually canceled your audition. I'm so sorry." And I just remember being at the doorstep of the audition room and just thinking, this absolutely sucks. I wasted all this time. I had all this hope. I practiced so much, and this is what I get for it. The bad luck doesn't stop. I go and I try to start my moped, and it won't start. And I'm stranded at that point. And my agent, nice enough, offered to come pick me up and my moped. I guess she had like a big car or something, truck. But I declined, and I waited for my dad, and took like an hour and a half to get here. And I was dejected for the whole week, just thinking this is terrible. You know, I spent all this time, skipped class, and they canceled my audition. For what reason would they cancel my audition? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. A week later, I get a call from my agent, and she says, "So, I mean, I probably should have told you this last week, but the reason why they canceled your audition is because they like saw what they needed to see, and well, I can call you and tell you now that you got the part." And I just freaked out, and I also thought, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you lead with that last week? Why didn't you tell me this? No one listened with it. And she just laughed about it. But yeah, obviously a very momentous event in my career, and one that I really remember the specifics to because it was my first one ever.
I tell you, what a story, huh? These are great stories you have with each of these projects. People, of course, know a lot, like you said. There is a huge thirst and a huge following for everything Hallmark, all the Hallmark movies, especially Christmas time, but throughout the year. I know many people that love the Hallmark movies. I have family members that always either have Hallmark on or Lifetime on. They're watching it all the time. Mom and sis, they love them. Tell us, like you mentioned, even this one, tell us about being involved in that. We have a lot of Hallmark Channel lovers that are watching right now, so they're excited. He was in that. He was in that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you again, with Hallmark, I will tell you as a new actor, the way that I viewed Hallmark has drastically changed from how I view it now. Back then, I didn't book this was my first Hallmark project, and I booked it maybe 4 or 5 years into acting, maybe even more, 5 or 6 years into acting. And I mean, I think I had a certain negative connotation to Hallmark, you know, like that's very like easy acting and just soap operatic, which was disrespectful to it. And it honestly takes away from the skill and the talent that the actors who work on the show really have, you know. And it took me so long to really, it is a different style of acting compared to other TV shows, there's no doubt, but it doesn't lack skill, you know what I mean? It's just a different form of skill. And it wasn't my strong suit. But once I booked that one, then I got a string of Hallmark stuff. And Virgin River, is similar. But it's just a different skill set that you have to learn, you know? And I no longer, I actually respect the heck out of Hallmark actors now. It's just something that some people are not good at, and some people can be really good at it. And I wish I was better, honestly. It still always takes me a little bit of a moment to kind of make the switch on how to direct the character that you're playing. Yeah.
You played a chef in this one, right?
Yeah. True to you. That was shot in Calgary. Lovely cast members, and great experience shooting that one as well.
So that was a good time. So Calgary, huh? That's a great city.
Yeah, Calgary is a great food city. I had a great time there. I ate out for dinner almost like every single night, and I didn't have a single bad meal there. So
really,
and that means a lot from someone who comes from Vancouver and is really a foodie too. Yeah, they
exactly.
Yeah.
So another one, you know, if you eat too much and it gets a little out of control, then you got to go see The Good Doctor.
Good one.
Great one on ABC, huh? Being involved in that. I mean, however long the roles are, just to have an opportunity to be the one selected to be on these types of series with all of this exposure, especially not only in Canada, but on American television, which is like, for many people, it's like an ultimate, whether they're in Europe or Africa, Asia, wherever they are, Australia. Everybody's enamored with the American TV shows and movies. So you've had some and continue to have some wonderful opportunities in Canada as well as here in America on these series like this one.
You know what? That one's also shot in Canada, Vancouver as well.
So much Vancouver has become a real hub for projects. Yeah. Did you like being on that?
Sorry.
Did you like being on that one?
The Good Doctor, yes, of course I did. I'm a huge fan of Freddie Highmore. I think he's such an exceptional actor, and he did a show called Bates Motel for a number of years here that I auditioned for plenty of times and never got on. And so ever since The Good Doctor came on, I always wanted to have the opportunity to work on that show and to work with him and see how he works. And finally got my foot in at the season premiere of their final season. Yeah, so that was.
Do you remember the role?
I'm sorry.
Do you remember the role that you played?
Do I like the role that I played?
Do you remember the role you played on The Good Doctor?
Oh yeah, I mean this was pretty recent actually. This one we shot in December of this 2023, and actually it was my last day on 2020. It was my last day on Good Doctor, which was the first show that I booked following the actors' strike. So it was like 6 months without work at this point. And so being able to be on the show was exciting for me. And then on my last day of shooting, I thought, oh man, I don't know when I'm going to get my next job. And then I got a text message just saying that I got Tracker. So, yeah.
So you went from The Good Doctor to Tracker, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Literally from one to the other. And then, I finally got to see Freddie Highmore work. And he was just, I always wondered what he was like as a normal human being. Because, in Bates Motel, he plays also a troubled teen, and then this one he plays an autistic world-renowned like surgeon, but he's definitely someone who sinks into his character so well that I was just curious what he was like in real life. And yeah, he definitely is such a friendly guy when you're not yelling action, and when action's called, then he just switches into his character and he stays there. So yeah, it was cool to watch someone like him work.
Another one is The Sinner, too.
Yeah, this one was a really fun one. This one was shot on Nova Scotia. Very interesting project because an interesting time to shoot. Also during COVID.
Yes.
We were shooting in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, which is like a small fishing town. I stayed in a bed and breakfast kind of area, like a 300-year-old house. That's where I stayed for almost 3 weeks. There really wasn't much to do. Beautiful though. The scenery is beautiful there, sitting on the patio and looking out into the ocean every single morning. But restaurants close at like 7 or 8 p.m. And when you're done shooting a show, there's very little to do.
You're very hungry after doing that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in this little old house with a number of the cast members actually, and I cook every now and then. But I remember really wanting to rent a car so that I can visit neighboring towns on my days off, because I worked like 5 days out of 18 when I was there. Again, a lot of time off. Unfortunately, during COVID, for whatever reason, I think I actually think a lot of the rental cars were sent down to your guys' country. They said that the cars were sent down to the United States, and so there were very few rental cars to go around. Hence, I didn't get a car. Hence, I had a boring time when I was.
You're right. There was a shortage of rental cars here because there was an overall shortage of cars. So they needed the rental cars for the rental agencies, but then there was a shortage of pre-owned cars as well. So the rental car agencies were selling their cars too. It was the whole car thing. The whole last couple of years is a Twilight Zone movie, isn't it? It's just really been extraordinary. And there's still a lot of life-changing after effects that remain today. A lot of things, the way things are done, the way business is done, the way, there's still a lot of.
I mean, I haven't been to a live audition in a long time.
Right. Yeah. And there's been a lot of businesses that unfortunately have closed, a lot of restaurants and other places, retail shops that just didn't survive during the craziness of it all. But, and then the acting industry and a lot of performers, singers and Broadway and musicians. Everybody was just, there was nowhere to go, nowhere to perform. Everything was, what did you do during the time when you had that downtime? Did you clean out a lot of closets? Did you bake a lot of sourdough bread like everybody did? Did you write scripts? What did you do?
I gotta try and think about this, but for the most part, I remember watching a ton of shows with my wife. Yeah, we had our wedding canceled because of COVID.
Was it really? So many
Yeah,
people did, and you did too, huh?
we postponed it. I ended up having a civil, like legal wedding on the beach with a small party, and then we postponed our ceremony. I want a year, maybe 2 years. Oh man, I can't remember. Like you said, it's like Twilight Zone period.
It really is. Yeah.
I watched a lot of TV shows. I actually didn't mind it. Sometimes when we have long breaks, I really don't mind it because acting is such a thing that really takes over your life.
Yes.
And especially when back in the days where you have to go into an audition room, they give you set times, and it's either you can make it or you can't make it, and you can try and ask them to adjust the time, but there's only so much you can do. And so, I spent a lot of my time working in restaurants, and the stress of getting your shift covered with a day's notice is crazy because you feel like if you miss that audition, you're gonna, for a newer actor, that's what it felt like for the first 5 years, is if you miss that audition, you don't know that if you could have gotten that one and that could have turned into something else. And so the potential for every audition seemed huge, and you just didn't want to miss it. And so your life really starts to center around acting. And honestly, for a long-term period, I just don't feel like it's very healthy. And so whenever we have long breaks, even with the actor strike, I didn't mind it that much. It was time for me to just turn my brain off and not have to worry about this stuff. But
a lot of people said that when they were guests on the show during that period, that they're like, money's a little tight right now, but there's a relief. They were able to spend time with family. They were able to breathe. They were able to maybe try some hobbies they've always wanted to try and different things. And as a result, some people made major life and career changes coming out of that whole period. But there was this time of the world wasn't as rushed as it always is 24/7 all the time. Go, next, got to do this, got to be plugged in, got to be on social media, got to constantly respond to emails and phone calls, texts. It was sort of just...
The world shut down for a while. Yeah, it's... I just remember the odd times that I would drive the car out and feeling how empty the road is. And Vancouver traffic is pretty bad sometimes in the city. So yeah, it's definitely a unique feeling. And I'm not gonna, obviously the bad effects of COVID is also huge, but I almost want to say, like, I hope people get to experience that. Not the pandemic itself, but like a sense of just calm downness, so to speak, and there's no time that you're really going to experience that unless there's something like a pandemic where it just feels empty and but calm. Obviously I don't want it to be an extended period of time, but like a month or something, it felt good. And then I don't know if you guys did that in New York, but at 7 p.m. every night, people would rattle their pots as a support for all the health workers. And I felt that sense of community. It felt like the world was shut down, but the community was still tied together through these things. And social media, like you said, wasn't as crazy, and people weren't as busy on their phones and all this stuff. But then there was this communal time at 7 p.m. where everyone just started rattling. And yeah, I remember feeling emotional about it.
A lot of people I know in a lot of cities here and in Europe too, they were people who were singers and musicians were going out on their apartment balconies and office balconies, and they were playing their instruments. They were playing the violin, the guitar. They were singing on the balconies in New York and the other cities and in Europe, which was really nice. And they were doing it for the healthcare workers and just for each other to get each other through. And that was something you almost wish that people did these kinds of things regularly and not just when there's a tragic situation that goes on. How everybody rallies together and we're all in this together. When something big, 9/11 was one of those too, where everybody came together and there were flags, Pride American flags everywhere. And then all of a sudden, we're at each other's throats again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I just kind of wish that some of that would transfer over, kind of like Christmas Day continued. Be kind of nice, because otherwise, some of the days it feels like we're experiencing the supernatural.
Wow, do you write these things?
You like these things? No, I'm all ad lib. It's constantly churning and turning. Nice segue, right?
Good one.
That's a good one. So involved in this too. Tell us about this. Like I said, you've been involved in so much, Donald. It's unreal.
Thanks, man. But I will say, supernatural. It's almost like any actor in Vancouver. If you worked for a couple of years, you're going to be on this show, because it ran for how many seasons? I don't even remember. 13, 14, 15 seasons. One of the most popular shows of all time, probably. The fan base that they have and the conventions they're constantly putting on and touring with. It's such a huge, huge show. Again, this was one of those moments where I felt a little bit starstruck. Not as bad as Milo, but I just remember in my scene being choked by Jensen Ackles. And when I went to work the next day at a bar I was working at, and I was telling my friends and stuff, and people were like, "You got choked by Jensen Ackles? That's awesome." It's just one of those moments where it's like, oh, I finally got on the show, and you get to work with these such respect actors, and they just mess around and improv so much on set, like incredibly much, especially Jared, I would say, actually. But yeah, that was a fun set to be on. Unfortunately, it was it was like 1 or 2 days of shooting, but yeah, I would have liked to be on that show more. That was a fun one.
I know coming to the East Coast and visiting New York and the Northeast is on your radar too. You would love to, because you've done a lot from Vancouver down to Hollywood and LA, but you have your eyes set on New York and the Northeast. If something came your way in theater, like an off-Broadway play or Broadway play, something along those lines, are those things that you would entertain as well?
Yes. 100%, but I would be scared shitless. Especially if it was on a bigger stage than like your community theater, which I did a lot of following high school. I just, again, like I told you, I enjoyed performing in front of a live audience and then having people clap. It just felt really good. So I did that for a bit, actually, with my high school teacher. My high school teacher retired the year that I graduated, but he continued to host these communities theater program things where we would invite our friends and family and fill this small theater with about 100 people and kind of try and keep the acting inspirations alive. Funny story, this same high school acting teacher is someone who taught Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds is from Vancouver as well. I remember coming across an interview with Ryan Reynolds where he was asked, who is the person or who is the teacher that inspired you the most? And he goes on to say, there's this guy named Mr. Galloway. And I just thought, what? Like, is he actually just singing my teacher right now? And he goes on to tell the story about how my teacher got him to kind of wake up and really follow his dreams and go down the path that eventually got him to where he was. And then I called up my high school teacher and I invited him to come to my house for dinner. And then I recorded him as I played this video for him. And he was just giggling and laughing. And he didn't remember. Like, he knew he taught Ryan Reynolds. And he had a really cool story to tell me about him. But he didn't remember any sense of being the catalyst for Ryan. Like he didn't, the kind of compliments that Ryan was paying him, he just was confused. He was like, what? Really? I inspired that kid? So that's pretty cool.
And now that kid just sold Mint Mobile for a couple $100 million.
And owns a soccer team, one of the hottest commodities in Hollywood. Yeah, he's got everything.
Everything has come along. He's worked hard. He's been doing it a long time, but yeah, it's come along nicely. He's really pretty much in the promised land now.
Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna say here. This was the one thing where I was like, I'm actually not in that. So that's a mistake there.
That's on your. You know what? That's on your. What's IMDb?
What?
They
Really?
have. Yeah, they have that in there. Yeah.
Well, that's a mistake.
Who writes that? Who creates that for you?
Some of it I add, some of my team adds, sometimes the production adds. It really just depends. And yeah, they definitely
And it could come from different sources, right? That's like people's Wikipedia too. So many people they don't even know they have a Wikipedia. Somebody else created it, and then you look at it and they're like, well, they weren't born then. They didn't live there. They're not married to that person. That's not something they were in. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, totally. The IMDb stuff, like, as far as I know, I thought I was the only one who was able, or my agent was the only one who was able to add biographical information. But there's a couple things on my IMDb that is not correct.
And you're like, I wasn't in that, or I didn't do that, right?
Yeah, and I've tried to change it before, and it's just unchangeable.
Really?
It just won't change. Yeah. So
I'm on there. I'm on. Oh, you got a thumbs up there. Look at that on your screen. I like that. We've been getting thumbs up throughout the show from everybody. Now, what about Minority Report?
Gosh, I played this one was really small part, not even.
And that isn't on the IMDb, so that's a good one. So check.
Yeah.
Thumbs up on that one.
Yeah, I was on this one, but I think this one doesn't have much of a story to it because, first of all, I played a pretty small role in it. It was one of my earliest roles. And I also remember, I think I was in the last episode of their first season at a time where they knew the show was already axed. So there wasn't a whole lot of excitement around the show. You know, they knew that they were just finishing this episode and they were done. That's all I can recollect from the show. I don't even really remember what I said. I remember I played like a paramedic.
So it went by, pretty much in a flash. Or the Flash. Now that was good, right?
This one was really fun. Yeah, this one was a fun one.
That's a popular series from CW. How did that come about for you?
Like a lot of my other auditions, you
just
for it. You get the opportunity and then you send it. You know what? I actually think this one was weird because this was well before COVID, but I taped for it. I think usually when you tape for something back then, at least in my perspective, it was when you weren't one of the first choices. You know, the casting director can only see like 10 people, and so they see their 10 people, and then they might, again, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone and whatnot, but my kind of perspective was that. And so I was just sending a tape into the void.
So
obviously
it was a self-tape you did then, right?
Yeah, self-tape. Yeah. Back then, self-tapes were, to me, it was harder to book. You know, it just seemed like you were in a lower...
There's no relationship there or no eye contact. Do you like self-tape? Some do, some don't.
Back then, I didn't like them at all. Now I prefer them. Back then, I really, really didn't like them. But now that now it's become a regular thing for the last 3-4 years. You've gotten better at it. The flexibility is awesome. I no longer have to build my life around acting. I can, I can do it in the middle of the night. I can do it early in the morning. I can do it whenever. I can do it at my house. I can do it at someone else's house, at the studio. You know, the flexibility is just great. Of course, we do take on a heavier workload because when you get really busy, you have to. I edit all my my videos and send them out myself. And some casting directors want you to like. You gotta compress your files. You gotta have different videos for different scenes. They don't want them all together. And so for one audition, you can possibly edit like 5 videos, and then if you have like say 4 auditions that week, then it's a lot of work. But the flexibility is better, and I take that over anything else.
Exactly. And then, obviously when the casting director gets that self audition tape and they look at it or the download, if they want you, they would basically say, he's just my type.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Don't worry, no cover charge for the humor. No cover charge. That's another one you were in.
Yeah, this is probably the second Hallmark.
Yeah.
You know what? This was also a very small role, but this was immediately after I worked on Beverly Hills Wedding. Wait, I can't think. I know Beverly Hills Wedding and Just My Type. I believe they were the same directors. In fact, I know they were the same directors. I just don't remember which film came first. No, you know what? I think it was Just My Type that came first. It was a small role, very small role. I played the main girl's assistant, and yeah, there's not much to talk about in this one, to be honest. I just played her assistant, not many lines, and then maybe, I don't know, a few months after that, Beverly Hills Wedding came around, and I can't even be sure if the director remembered me from the first one or whatever. But then Beverly Hills Wedding was a bigger one, and that was a fun one to do.
Yeah, tell us about being involved in that and the role that you were playing for those that remember.
I played the there's a wedding planner, and I played the wedding planner's assistant. Yeah, it was a quirky character. He had this ongoing gag throughout the whole film where he would carry around a video camera and just get in the face of the bride and groom to be. And he was also a dance instructor and I guess sort of like a sommelier. Yeah, so he ran like the wine tastings for them, and he taught them dance lessons, and then he was like the videographer. So I was in that quite a bit. Yeah, again, Hallmark movies they're just fun. They're light. You know what you expect. You know what you like, and they give it to you. That really is how they put it, you know. And yeah, it's always a fun, less stressful set to be on than any other stuff, you know, because it's just
more
everybody's
positive and
yeah, it's just an easygoing vibe on all these Hallmark sets.
And you had more than 2 sentences too, which is always good. You know what we're leading to.
Or it could be a horror story.
2-sentence horror stories. Yeah. You got it. There's another one from CW. Classic.
Yeah, this one, you know, I finished Sight and then jumped to this one immediately. I think. Yeah. I did Sight.
So Sight was first and then this, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had the same makeup lady. The same makeup lady did this. No, she left Sight, I think, prematurely to work on the show, and then I joined her in the show, I believe. This one was really fun. This one was unique. This one was fun. I pitched this, or I kind of sell it as Goosebumps for adults, because it's a little bit darker, but it's served in small bite-sized pieces. You know, without the commercials, it's 20 minutes long, and each story is like an anthological. It's a separate story on its own. I play one half of a couple who he's very technology based. You know, he everything's automated in his life, and whereas his boyfriend is more of a hippie and like loose and just fun loving and wants to have a good time all the time. And my boyfriend gifts me a plant for our anniversary. We get into a fight, we break up. The plant kind of pricks me, and I guess throughout the episode I transform into a tree monster type and eventually get embedded into a tree. I just become a tree. Lots of makeup, a lot of prosthetics for this show, which was the first for me. Definitely fun the first time. I think I had to put under prosthetics twice. First time, super fun. Already the second time, I was like, whoa, I cannot believe what other actors go through on shows like Star Trek, or I also read the original X-Men, Mystique. I think that actress had to sit through like 12 hours of makeup, which means she comes in 12 hours before anyone else and just tries and sleeps on the bed while she gets this makeup put on her. And then she tries to act for the next 5-6 hours, and then she gets 3 hours to take this all off. She gets to go home and sleep for 4 hours, then she comes back and do it all over again. That was what I was thinking in my mind when I was having this put on, and I just thought, wow, I'm lucky I'm not in that scenario. How is that done? I don't know how that's doable. I don't know if it's still done like that today. I hope not. I don't think it could be.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
That's
very
incredible.
very intense for sure.
Yeah. Mine took like 3-4 hours, and that was really long enough.
Did it?
Yeah, and glue on my body and then my face stayed around for a while. Like, it's hard to get off that stuff, to get that stuff off. And I remember laying in bed and the next morning and rolling over and still feeling like the sheets are stuck to my body, no matter what.
How did you breathe? How did you breathe too? Sometimes you got to make sure that the actor or actress can breathe through these things.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem because they only had the tree kind of on this half of my face, but my nose was exposed.
Kind of like the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera, just half.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of like the Phantom. So many things. Again, we can spend so much time, but Arrow is another, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Arrow was also a pretty early one. Played a SWAT guy. Also, I'm just not too much to talk about with this one. This one was just like earlier ones, and
you're so humble.
I guess it was a smaller part. I just remembered I played a SWAT character. The funny thing with this one is, like, it's shot in Vancouver over 8 seasons or so, and sometimes, although I didn't get recycled as an actor, I was a background in this show for years, and if you go back and you watch episodes, you can definitely pick me out in certain scenes, in different scenarios. And then there was one time I was like a featured background where I was a bad guy and I hold like an Uzi machine gun and I shoot at the main guy, Arrow. And it even shows a close-up of my face at a certain shot. And I mean, I really think that they must not have caught that. I mean, they don't know the names of all the background actors. So I would say that if they knew that, I probably wouldn't have been able to work as a SWAT guy. But yeah, I was both the SWAT guy and the bad guy. And party goers. I worked background on the show for a long time before I was. Sure. Yeah.
Before moved up to the front of the line, right? Exactly. Yep. If you would be living here during that time that you were hoping to be moving towards the front of the line, you would be called an American dreamer. Instead, you're a Canadian dreamer. Here's another one that people recall, just a little bit of a sprinkling in just some of the projects to show, in addition to cite the scope of Donald's, resume and repertoire of things and different roles, whether they're just little roles or, several episodes. It all counts, and you've been a part of it all. How about this?
Again, this is one of the moments where
Shirley MacLaine.
I had to hold back my starstruckness because Game of Thrones is one of the greatest TV shows of all time, and Peter Dinklage is, without a doubt, favorite character on the show. No question, favorite character on the show. So obviously ecstatic when I knew I was going to be in this movie, and even more ecstatic to know that I was sharing all my scenes with him.
Shirley MacLaine in this too. She's iconic.
Yep, I never got to meet her. Never had a scene with her. I was actually not going to spoil anything, but I don't have any scenes with her.
Different times, but so people might not realize that a lot of these, and you can tell maybe a little bit about how it works for people that don't, they'll see everything and they'll think that everybody in a TV show or a movie all sees each other, but a lot of different scenes are shot at different times, different scenarios, different people in the scenes, and you may have all these people that are a part of a show, a movie, a series, who never interact with each other because of locale or what the scene calls for, right? Tell the viewers how that all works.
A lot of it is based on location. So the amount of days that you're going to be able to work, a lot of times is based on location. That's the number one thing that they kind of budget-wise try and consolidate so that it's all done at once. So for example, if they booked out a hospital for 3 days, they're going to shoot all the hospital scenes in those 3 days, and then the movie's going to get edited, all those scenes, into their chronological orders, so that if this person, say, is sick and throughout the whole movie and he constantly returns to the hospital from the beginning of the movie, middle of the movie to the end of the movie, all those scenes are likely shot on the same day or days within each other, or just depending on the locations. So that's really how, I guess, simplified way of explaining how it usually works.
Some actors and actresses, and even television people, what have you, they won't watch their stuff. I know that Katharine Hepburn said in an interview she never watched one of the most iconic movies that she was in, of many. She never watched Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, with her and Spencer Tracy and Sidney Poitier, that iconic movie. She never watched it because of, her wonderful relationship she had with Spencer Tracy, and Spencer was dying and actually died 10 days after the movie was filmed, that legendary movie. She never watched the movie. I had heard Johnny Depp, very popular actor, doesn't watch his movies. How about you? Do you watch the things you're in, or do you move on to the next project?
I watch everything that I'm in. I don't always watch what I'm in multiple times. There are, throughout the course of my career, there are categories of things that I feel like I could have done better in, and I would revisit them and kind of try and take my mind back as to why I made those choices and why those were perhaps the wrong choice to make. And so it is a learning mechanism for me. A part of it is really sharing it with my family and my friends. For a movie like Sight, I bought an almost entire theater and I invited my friends and family to go see it just as a celebration of it. And just to, show the people in my daily life that not necessarily are actors what I really do. And I think it's worth celebrating and something that I am proud of. I'm not ashamed to say that I am proud of. And then there are the certain projects where you've done when you're so young that you watch it once and you're like, oh, I don't want to watch that again. It's not even, it's beyond your ability to learn anything from it. It's just you're embarrassed by it. So yeah, there are categories in which I kind of put the work that I've done in. I'm not going to share with you guys which ones are in which.
Ghost Wars, another, of course, too. Yep. Yes. So many of them. Really iconic stuff here. And
yeah,
again,
Ghost Wars I would talk about, but just because it was my first time playing a cop. And
yes.
In reality, when you talk about why I became an actor, my first inkling ever of wanting to be an actor was probably when I was pretty young, because when I was like 5 or 6 and watching movies and seeing cops like bust down doors and holding a gun, I'm like, I want to do that. So I thought I wanted to be a cop. And throughout university, when I wasn't sure what I was going to do, I was doing political science and history. I thought I could see myself doing law enforcement. Like, I just feel like that's something that I would be actually good at. And then, I took criminology in the first year. And then after that, I thought, it's probably better to pretend to be a cop than to actually be a cop, because being a cop is probably it's a critical job. I mean, especially in today's day and age, right? Like the conversation can go both ways, really. It's one of the most dangerous jobs you can have out there. There's arguments to be made that is undertrained, obviously. There's a huge topic around this. And so I just thought it's easier to just pretend to be a cop, and that's the fun parts of it without having to deal with anything else. And so in a way, that was an early inspiration for me to want to be an actor. And so when I booked Ghost Wars and knew that I was going to play a cop, it meant something to me. And I kind of clocked that in myself and thought, this is something I'm going to remember, putting on that uniform and badge and whatnot.
Incredible. Again, so many roles. Real quick before you head out, because I know you got a lot of things happening. In addition to everything you've done so far, is there another role that's a dream role? I would like to play or I would like to be in this genre. Would you like to be in more drama, comedy? The role and the genre. Are there some that you have your sights on, Donald?
Some that I have my sight on?
See?
Hey. That's
very good, Donald.
That's constantly changing too. I think when I first started, I really wanted to be like an action hero kind of thing. And now that I told you guys I turned 34 2 days ago, I feel my body getting older. I mean, obviously, I'm still relatively young, but I don't know if I would want to go down that path necessarily anymore. In playing this character in Sight, it drew an interest in me about playing real life characters, because I liked and enjoyed the thought process. And honestly, you can do this with fictional characters too, but just the process of why they are the way they are. Yeah, I mean, this is across the board. This is for fictional characters as well. One of the dream characters that I've consistently auditioned for throughout my years in separate projects is the role of Bruce Lee. And I actually got pretty close at one point. I was told that I was like one of 5 people who were on the short list of playing Bruce Lee in a new biopic that's coming out. And then the movie got recycled and the script got rewritten. And it
And
was
you know
probably
martial arts too? Is that something
I
you
know a
know?
little bit. I'm definitely, I know the basics.
Right.
I know the basics. It's always been a part of my life. My dad was a huge worshiper of Bruce Lee. And long story short, Ang Lee has taken over directing duties of this new movie that is about Bruce Lee's life, and his son is playing Bruce Lee. And yeah, super excited to see it though. I mean, I cannot believe that someone of his stature, I mean, I can't believe it, but that's the right person to direct it. And I'm sure his son is the right person to be in it too. But yeah, Bruce Lee was one that came into my life a lot, and it would have been a dream to be able to play him. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Wow. Well, this was really great. And, you know, again, we went through just a few of the many projects that you've been on. First time here on the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series, and really appreciate all the time and, you know, the great conversation that we had. And so many people, just want to show you, you know, our viewers, our lovely viewers. Thank you, Donald, for being here tonight. Didn't realize all you have been in. Can't wait to see you in sight. It looks amazing. Sherry is in Kansas, USA. Merlin in Ontario, one of your Canadian friends here. Thanks, Donald. Good luck in your future ventures. This was a very interesting conversation. CACA, of course, Canada. Kathleen in New York City, place you're going to visit one of these days soon. Let me know when you're in the area. Thanks for being here, Donald. Quite a career you've had so far. Good luck with all you do. Maureen in Arizona, USA. Donald, thank you so much for being here tonight and telling your story of your rise to stardom. May your star continue to rise.
Thank you so much.
Not too
both
shabby.
to you and to all the kind comments. It's something that I don't hear very often, so it's always appreciative. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
The pleasure is all mine. Twitter, Instagram, there is the social media for Donald as well. Congratulations on the movie. Come back. We'll keep the porch light on for you. You're welcome back anytime, Donald. Spread the word about our series, and I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you have a great day.
You appreciate it, and you take care now, all right?
Yes, yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye now. Fantastic conversation with a great guy who is very, very talented, and we're so happy to have an opportunity to chat with him here on the show. There he is, Donald Heng, joining us here. And he was coming to us live from Vancouver, Canada, which is really, really cool. We really appreciate that. You know, we've got a lot of different guests coming. I want to let you know that tomorrow we're taking you to Ireland. We have the fantastic Irish singers and songwriters, Johnny Brady, who is a very popular country music star. And also Nigel Connell is joining us. And he was on The Voice Ireland, one of the finalists. He's a brilliant singer, songwriter, musician. They're going to sing for us too on this episode. So you've got singing happening, an amazing conversation, lots of Irish crack, which means jolly, good, fun times, and teasing you a little bit about Waiting on the Other Side. That's their new music that's coming out, new single. They're going to be with us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific, a nice weekend afternoon live show. Check it out. Taking you to beautiful Ireland with these very popular, very, very, very talented singers, songwriters. They're individual artists, but they collaborated on this new music. Johnny Brady, Nigel Connell with us tomorrow. For those watching live, a nice Saturday afternoon show. If you want to interact with us, join us live. You can always see all of these episodes. If you ever miss anything or you join us late, all of them are archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And if you ever miss any, you can binge watch some of your favorites. If you come in late when the show is on live, halfway in, you never miss anything because you can see it archived. All the episodes of our series are saved and archived for our viewers around the world because we realize people watch our show live and others watch it at other times based on their life schedules and their work schedules. So everything is archived for you. This episode will be archived as well. And what a great episode again. Donald, who's obviously, you can see, very humble, has been in a lot of incredible productions. And he's got his son there and his wife there. And he had to scoot off because it's dinner time. And, you know, they got a hungry kid there. So you got to make sure to feed them. If you enjoyed this episode, and all the ones who enjoy, interact with us, let us know. It helps us big time when you do, gang. We love having you here. We really, really do. And we hope you're enjoying our series with all the hundreds of guests we've had, celebrity friends and guests. Be sure and give this episode a like. There is a thumbs up icon on the YouTube channel next to all the episodes. Click like, share this episode on your social media. And everybody watching, we would love it if you leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Even if you commented in our Lovely Hall chat room, it really helps us big time when you also comment underneath the episode in the comments section of our YouTube channel, underneath all the episodes, because that allows the episodes to be seen by more people. When you like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, for more great episodes. Click the notification bell icon so you never miss any of the episodes. If you want to interact live with us or see them again, because we've done so many shows, there may be several you have missed and you didn't even know that guest was on. Binge watch. And you can follow me and us here at the Jim Masters Show on Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter, at Jim Masters TV. So if you go to Instagram, Facebook, or X, formerly Twitter, you can check us out and follow and like, all at Jim Masters TV on Instagram, X, and on Facebook, Jim Masters TV. Very, very interactive on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with everybody who follows and likes and all the rest. And we appreciate those of you who are already there. Great episode. Sight is the name of the movie. Check it out. Donald is very, very proud of it, as is all the folks involved. Really, really cool movie. We appreciate Donald joining us here on the show. Really, really a terrific episode. Great conversation. And again, he's been in so many great shows, Canadian and American, and much, much more to come from Donald Heng. Great actor here on the show. So many more guests coming your way. Boy, do we have some big surprises too. Coming up next week, some extraordinary, legendary guests. Oh boy. I don't want to give too much away. We've got some amazing people that are coming, working very, very hard every day behind the scenes to bring you the best on the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series of guests and entertainment, great conversation, levity, and all the rest. Working really hard behind the scenes, a lot of hours, a lot of time, balancing it out with my TV and radio career because I really enjoy it. Hey, if this is your first time joining us, we welcome you. Welcome to the Lovely family here on the Jim Masters Show. It's always good to have you here. It's always good to have you here when the shows are live. And again, we thank you for your time. We thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We really, really appreciate that. All right, gang, we're going to scoot off. Thanks for all the great comments. Everybody watching around the world. We appreciate everybody. And hey, Dante CD. Sorry I missed some of it. Hello, Lovities. Hey, Dante's been with us for a long time, and it's so good to see you here, Dante, watching from the West Coast. Always nice when you're here, Dante. We really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. And everybody that has been watching. Shirley Ray Speck, fabulous performer. She's been watching with smiles as well, and everybody watching from around the world. We appreciate you. Thanks for all the great comments in the chat section. Be sure and leave a comment. You know, thanks to those of you who do take the time to go to our YouTube channel and under the episodes, leave a comment and click like. We see those. Many of you, several of you do it all the time on every episode. And I just want to personally thank you. That means the world to us. And it also helps these shows be seen by more people when you take the time to leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, all the rest. All right. This was a fun show. And so many more to come. Thanks for being with us. It's dinner time around here. We appreciate you being with us. And don't forget to love one another. Don't forget to take care of one another. Don't forget to do the same for yourself. Very, very important to do that. Come see us again right here at Lovely Hall and the Jim Masters Show. I'm your host, Jim Masters. We love you all. We appreciate the time. We'll see you on the next one. Again, we'll be here for those watching live tomorrow, Saturday, with Johnny Brady and Nigel Connell coming to us from Ireland. And it's going to be a great show. I guarantee they're all excited too. And we're excited. So it's going to be fun. All right. Binge watch, have some fun, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of JMS. Be well. Cheers.